Well, good afternoon, guys. I am doing the Heughs Canyon trail, which actually starts right on here. I'm going to try and find a couple of plants. It's probably not going to be a very good video, but I need to keep making videos and get practice, so let's just jump right in and see what I can do. I'm probably going to spend most of the time in this short video talking about the riparian plants you can find along the Heughs Canyon Creek, but first a couple of things we can talk about here. It's definitely not riparian site. This is Apocynum androsaemifolium. Part of a genus commonly known as Dogbanes. It's the namesake of the family of Apocynacea, which is one of the largest in the world, and typically has opposite leaves and a milky toxic sap. And this plant is no exception, though since it's almost completely dormant and dying back to the root for the year, we might not see much of anything. Yeah, it's pretty much dry and dead for now. Very interesting plant. I like the fact that it's native and seems to do very well on highly exposed, disturbed sites like on the sides of trails. In fact, that's pretty much the only place I ever see it is on the sides of trails. But then again, I don't really stray very far from trails typically, so I might be missing a whole lot that you can find elsewhere. Now turning red, we have, of course, Acer grandidentatum, the Bigtooth Maple, and the most common maple in the Rocky Mountains. Not much else to say about it, but you just look down there and see the creek seems to be fairly... Wow, I wish I brought my hiking poles now. Seems fairly dry down there, but it's clearly flowing over that side. So I'm going to try and go down there in a second. So I just came from up there, and we can see here that the riverbed is dry, but just a little lower. The water is flowing, and it seems to exit from the ground right here. Can't tell if it's like an outflow pipe or just the river naturally goes underground, but either way we can find some more plants here now. This is some non-native species of Rosa. I'm honestly not going to try to identify. It's what a lot of people would colloquially call a dog rose, which refers to Rosa canina, but also I guess I said colloquially pretty much any kind of crap rose that's not native you can find around here. Much more pleasant though is this plant hanging right in front of my face. This is Sambucus caerulea, the blue elderberry. So when you find at lower elevations in Utah, as opposed to Sambucus racemosa, the red elderberry, you can very clearly see its blue elderberry berries, and it has opposite branches and leaves. I don't like being down here too much. I think it might be private property, which I don't care too much about, but I do want to get out just in case someone wants to shoot me. That's how it is in this country. I know for a fact that they're not going to go to jail if that happens. I'm just kidding. I'm being a bit of a dick right now. Check this out. This is poison ivy in the fall. Now, a lot of people don't like poison ivy, which here is represented by the western species, Toxicodendron, rydbergii, but it really has some of the most beautiful fall foliage and some of the earliest turning fall foliage. Oh man, I used to know what this species was too. This is a non-native species of nightshade with the berries there. Like a Solanum something or other. I gotta look it up particular, but again, most likely has toxic fruit and it's just not native. But Birch can stomach its fruit and scatter its seeds everywhere, so it grows wild. I worked for the Salt Lake City Parks Department. I had to remove a lot of it at one particular location, which is truly filled with some of the most unappreciative people ever. I might talk about that story later, but for now I'm going to continue heading on. Now here's a plant I don't think I ever talked about for how common it is. Surprisingly, this is Betula occidentalis, the native western water birch. It's a member of the family Betulaceae, which is a birch family, so a big shocker there, but it does also include other groups of plants like Ulmus, the elders, and the hormenes. I can't remember what genus it is. Something that begins with an O, but that and a couple others can be found throughout the world. But there's not a lot of species from the family native to here. This one though is fairly common along waterways. I've never talked about it on video, I don't think, so that's a little interesting. But important note about it is that its leaves are very often bidentate, so it's like they have these large teeth on the margin with smaller teeth. So it's got like teeth with teeth on the margins of the leaf. It's a bit of a tongue twister for you. It's not a family I know much about, but I do know they do typically tend to grow along waterways, sort of one thing, or other wetlands and stuff like that. Not all species do, like especially in the eastern United States, there are some that just grow on typical dry land, but of course the eastern states get a lot more precipitation, so it sort of maybe enables that a bit. I don't know. And right along here, you might be able to hear the river in the background of this. I would get more wet area. This is Cornus sericea, a red Osier dogwood, the first ever plant I've talked about. Something I've talked about a lot. Remember the dogwood family Cornaceae. It's got opposite leaves and very vivid red bark on the young shoots, as we can see here. I made a great video on how to identify it in winter because that really is the easiest time to do so. And growing along these as well, we have this plant of really large leaves. This is Rubus parviflorus, commonly known as Thimbleberry. It's a member of the rose family. It produces nice edible sort of fruits that are kind of like that of a raspberry, but a little bit softer. At least where I've tried to find them, they're very soft. Whoa, sorry for the violent jump cut there, but a jogger came barreling down the trail just about then. Either way, you're on the upper side of the river on the north-facing slope where it's much more shaded. You can see quite a lot of thimbleberry growing. It's not exactly a plant I'd typically call a riparian species. I mean, it does seem to like growing along riversides, but you can find it growing elsewhere too, just in the shade of other trees. Maybe moderately riparian is a better way to describe it. Oh, there, that's a better view of it. Now, I'm not going to be able to get too close to these specimens, but that tree, those two big broadleaf trees you see in the distance, are Populus and angustifolia, commonly known as the Narrowleaf Cottonwood. It's one of the two main species of cottonwood you'll find here in Utah, if you ever being Populus remontii, which typically inhabits lower elevations. It has much more broad leaves versus the very thin, lanceolate, narrow leaves of the Populus angustifolia. Well, this one tends to be at higher altitudes and not exactly super high up, but like you'll definitely find it more in, say, like the Wyoming Basin area and in the mountain valleys here. Fremontii is much more of a desert species, especially in southwestern Utah, in my experience. Some really loud people here. I'm not sure what they're shouting for. But I'm going to head back down because there's one other thing I was trying to find. I can't remember at the moment. I should have withheld my judgment a bit because those shouty people I ran into were actually kind of friendly. A bunch of young people. Always nice to see young people hiking. I'm trying to go back down, might as well talk about this again. For the 18th time, this is Paxosthema myrsonitis, commonly known as mountain lover. It loves mountains. Well, maybe not more of another species, but you do find it growing in the mountains, and it's nice evergreen, this broadleaf plant, or nice evergreen angiosperm, to be a little more scientific. I feel like I'm missing something. Some turnoff I was supposed to go to that I just can't find right now. I'm not sure I'm going to upload this. This will be some practice footage to work with holding my camera and moving relatively quickly through the forest while talking about plants. We're seeing a lot more of the red Osier Dogwood all throughout here. I hope the sun flare isn't too bad to look at, even though you guys won't see this video actually. So maybe some special channel or just upload retarded practice footage. Oops, I didn't say that. Except I did, I don't care. It's a really nice place. I love the golden setting we're in. Golden sunlit setting. That's a species of Rumex, also known as dock, commonly in the English language. A non-native one to be sure. Oh, there's an apple tree here. The Malus sylvestris, I think, is a domestic apple species. I know it's because I've been reading through and trying to log all the species you can find in the book. Flora of the British Isles. It's such a pointless endeavor to try to make a species list from a flora like that, but you know, I'm sincerely trying to do it. Yeah, it does indeed look like an apple. Okay, maybe this footage actually will make the light of day. Well, I just never violent jump cut there as another trail runner came by, but I mean, what can you do? But here is something I actually forgot I was coming to this trail for originally, which is to see the huge plot where I weeded all the myrtle spurge. I want to see how it's doing right now. I mean, it obviously hasn't grown back as thickly as it was originally growing here before. There might be some new seedlings coming up, which you want to keep an eye out for. Looks like some dickhead spread it around again, which is obnoxious to see, but can't help it, can you? I had it in one pile just so it would hopefully mulch and turn to something nice, not to be really gross and terrible. But it seems like it's covering up some nice native species. Since it's dry now, I can safely touch it. Oh no, it's not covering anything. It's just kind of being grown around by the Berberis repens. Yeah, on the surface at least, I'm not seeing any regrowth yet, which is fantastic. It's exactly what I want to see. Nothing aside from this native poison ivy and the Berberis repens and maybe some other native species. They'll hopefully do really well. I mean, I'm really excited to see how the Berberis repens are going to be growing back next year. Of course, there's still more stuff to do, still more work to be done. Shoot, I might actually be burying some of the Berberis repens I was trying to save, but it will. Okay, that's gonna have to be weeded later. I might just come back and do it sometime, but so will that probably next year by me because no one else is gonna do it. But either I'm really happy with the results here, so I'm just gonna go now. This was never gonna be a very long video, but thanks for watching and see you next time.